Eclipse Trip, April 8th, 2024. With the anticipation of the eclipse on April 8th, 2024, several of us from the old college crew had put together a plan to see and report it. Mark would be spearheading the charge with information and telescopes. Tom would run the cameras and drones. Walter came down from Philadelphia and provided additional support. As the day drew close, we pored over every weather forecast possible. Overall, it wasn't a good picture. Most of Texas was going to be under some sort of cloud cover. Central Texas, where he had been planning to watch it from, was going to be totally clouded in. We developed alternate plans of possible places to go for a combination of good forecast and good time of totality. Sunday evening, we decided our best bet was somewhere north of Dallas. So Walter and Mark loaded up Mark's Tesla with a huge amount of gear and picked Tom up at 2 a.m. to head out. This was going to be our first road trip in a Tesla, so we had to take charging points into account. Our first stop was the Temple of the Beaver, Buc-ee's, in Temple, Texas. We fast charged the Tesla in 15 minutes, took a stretch, got a few things, and headed out. Mark enjoyed the full auto driving that happened to be on a free demo for all Tesla drivers that month. He and Walter chatted some while Tom, who was prone to motion sickness, passed out into a Dramamine-induced stupor. As we headed north, we passed some areas of clear sky and noted the wind direction, but it was no guarantee of conditions at totality. Our first stop off the highway was Sulphur Springs, Texas, at a Tesla charging station near the town square. It was a quaint town with a grassy area in which several people had already set up with telescopes, as this town was going to be in the line of maximum totality. We talked with them. They had set up the night before and were placing all their bets that this place would be clear by eclipse time. After charging up, we decided to get some breakfast at the White Oak City Limits Cafe across the street. It was a breakfast/lunch place and served hearty servings of delicious country cooking. They also had some Eclipse merchandise. You could tell that the town had been preparing for this for a little while. After breakfast, it was still cloudy, so we checked the forecasts and decided to head in the direction of Greenville, Texas. Our choice of going in that direction wasn't a great one, because not long after we left, we ran into a massive fog bank. We drove around trying to escape the fog and hit rain instead. Ultimately, we gave up on this direction and headed back to Sulphur Springs to charge up the Tesla again. When we arrived back in Sulphur Springs, there was a line for the charger. Between waiting and charging, we spent about an hour, and the sky wasn't looking any better. The best forecast said it would clear up north of I-30, so we headed out driving up small roads, looking for an opening as the time was drawing near. We found an empty spot along the road, and as we started to set up, someone from the sheriff's office came by and told us that we had to move, so we packed up and continued onward. We passed a side patch of asphalt on the other side of the road that had some people on it with cameras set up, so we figured it was good as it was going to get. We turned around, pulled in, and started to unload. The eclipse had already started. Mark set up 3 telescopes, Tom 3 cameras, and 2 drones, and we peeked up at the sky with our eclipse glasses so that we could see the moon starting to slowly overtake the sun. Getting shots through the solar filter with the cell phone was pretty much a lost cause due to focus issues, though we had some success. Fortune was with us this afternoon. We did have clouds blow through, but for the most part, it was a clear view of the eclipse, and we were able to see each stage of transition. Tom ran from camera to camera, taking shots along each stage of the way. Mark checked out things through the telescopes and set up even more equipment. Walter did his best to enjoy the show. As totality approached, the light started to fade and took on a weird, contrasty look. It wasn't just the same as a dark cloud being overhead. Then totality struck. It was a weird and unique sight. It went from kind of light to dark in under 30 seconds. At this point, you could look up without the need for solar filters, and the sun was a blazing black disk in the sky. It was a very surreal experience as both the light and the temperature dropped. Walter got an opportune call at just that time. We had 4 minutes of unreal glory to look up at the broken sky and contemplate what was going on. Then the totality was over. It took about 30 seconds for the light to come on back to daylight. We continued to watch, observe, and photograph the exit as the transit completed its work. During the process, one of the locals stopped by in an off-road buggy, and we had a chat about the eclipse and the local museums and the history before continuing on. We also got to know the 3 guys that we shared the site with. They were from Dallas, and one of them was almost as obsessive as Mark. After the transit finished, we packed up everything and headed back. We passed through Sulphur Springs again, stopping at the Dairy Queen for a bit to eat before continuing to Terrell, where we charged up at the local Buc-ee's. We were going to get some Buc-ee's brisket goodness, but we saw a Mod Pizza across the road and went there instead. It was Mark and Walter's first time for Mod goodness. Having charged up, we continued down towards I-35, then downwards. We hit the Buc-ee's in Temple one last time for a recharge, and then made it back to Austin around 11 p.m. Through planning, preparation, determination, and 780 miles of driving, we had achieved our goal of seeing the eclipse and living to tell the tale.